Big news! We have a big update to one of the stories we've been covering on the channel. We've done a couple videos on it now because I think this story is nuts. And then we have Freeland, our Minister of Finance, struggling with basic economics and showing us that she does not have a plan to fix housing. What she's doing is too little, too late. It is just lip service. We're going to get into that. And then we have a crazy video from the CBC of all people, which is starting to show that liberal sentiment is starting to turn. We are starting to see them jump ship a little bit. I never thought I would see CBC critical of the federal government, and yet they are, and they actually bring forward some big information when it comes to this story about immigration, student visas, the problems that we are dealing with. It's been an actual wild development to see. Let's get into it.
We're getting an update from a major gold heist that hit Toronto's Pearson International Airport last year, a story that made international headlines. Police are now saying they have arrested and charged another man in connection with the heist. Peel Regional Police outside Toronto have now charged a 36-year-old man. His name is Archie Grover from Brampton, Ontario, with theft of more than $5,000 and conspiracy to commit an indictable offense. Police still have Canada-wide warrants out for two other suspects, including a former employee of Air Canada itself who was employed at the time of the theft.
I'm actually surprised they caught the guy. With all the amount of money and the items that they had, I'm surprised they hadn't run away already.
Investigators are urging anyone with information to call police immediately. But again, another arrest has been made in connection with this gold heist. It was valued at more than $20 million in gold that was stolen. A 36-year-old man, Archie Grover, who is from Brampton, Ontario, just outside Toronto, has been charged in connection with the gold heist.
Just wanted to keep you guys updated to that story there because I still think that it's nuts that $20 million in gold was stolen and it is hardly talked about. I want to know what you guys think is the over-under on getting either a Netflix series or a Netflix documentary. We did get that What Jennifer Did, and then also we had that like Don't Mess with Cats one. Let's get into this video with Freeland.
In 2015, the average price of a single-family detached home in Brantford was just over $284,000, $410 for a new build. And the current price is now $716,000. How do you expect an average resident here to afford this when the median household income in Brantford is just over $60,000?
It's a great question, probably the essential question. And that's why we're investing so much in housing. That's why this budget includes a massive $6 billion investment in housing across the country. It comes on top of major efforts like the Housing Accelerator Fund, which it tops up. Taken together, we now have a national housing plan that will get 4 million additional homes built by 2031.
Okay, that number is impossible. There's no physical way for us to build 4 million homes in Canada. It can't be done. We don't have the labor. We don't have the resources. To put that in perspective, that for us to hit the 4 million, we would have to take Canada's most productive building year ever, double it, and do that every year until the end for us to hit that 4 million number. Do you guys think we're going to be anywhere near that? No, not even close. This is too little too late. You guys have been doing, in power for 9 years. We should have been building way before. And then, of course, immigration is a lever that you guys have to cut right now.
We need to build more homes. The key to Canada's challenge, to Ontario's challenge, to Brantford's challenge is supply, supply, supply.
Is there another half missing to that calculation? There is supply and demand. Yes, exactly.
And what I will also say, specifically, addressed to young people, is we've put some specific measures in place to help young Canadians achieve that dream of home ownership. Because I think for so many people, that's a foundation for a middle-class life. And it is really important that for young people, that middle-class life be within reach. So we launched last April the first home savings account, the FHSA. There are now more than 750,000 young Canadians that have opened a first home savings account.
Okay, the reason I wanted to talk about that and why I drilled into demand before is because what she just said is we're going to make it easier for people to save up and buy a house, which on paper sounds great. You want to have a way for people to save money and be able to buy a house. Here's the problem. Demand is one of the main issues that we are struggling with. So if you can not eliminate demand through cutting immigration and increasing the building, which we know we can't increase the building, the demand is the biggest impact we have. And all this account does, which again, I like the idea of the tool, but it increases demand, which continues to put a higher pressure on price. And I am a real estate agent in London, Ontario. Reach out to me in the link below if you want to work with me or my team all the way across Canada. We can hand select somebody for your area. The lever that's always going to be easier to control is the demand side versus the supply side. All of these tools that they're putting in place to make it easier to buy, it's actually going to continue to make demand worse.
That's a big deal. And that is young people saying, you know what, I do believe I'm going to get that first house, and I'm putting money down every month to buy it. And then a final measure that I would highlight for young Canadians looking to buy that first home is we've said if you're renting now and you're paying your rent on time, the rent you pay can count towards your credit rating.
If I have to hear the talking point about rent going towards your credit score helping you buy a house one more time, I'm going to lose it. There's a million ways to help build your credit score. Your rent going towards your credit score is a fine tool. There's nothing wrong with that as a single idea. But it will not help you buy a house if it's just helping grow your credit score. Doesn't matter if your credit score is 800 or 650 when you can't afford to buy the house. The credit score doesn't matter, really. They have this huge housing push, which is not helpful. It's too little too late, and the immigration is the biggest impact. Speaking of which, let's get into this next video, which I was very surprised CBC put out because they get into actual real problems for once.
Data obtained by CBC News show that Canada's recruitment of international students failed to match the job market. Colleges and universities brought in far more foreign students to business programs than in-demand fields like healthcare or the trades. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, has the story.
Promotional videos like this aim to recruit students to college business programs, and they're often pitched specifically at international students. But for international students who take these courses, what's it like finding a job in that real business world? Akash Singh came from India and got a business diploma from an Ontario public college. His 2-year program cost $34,000.
I felt bad because I spent too much money on the course.
After graduating in 2021, Singh searched for work in finance and accounting, but has only been able to land jobs at McDonald's and as a security guard.
The Canadian job market is not strong right now. When people are railing on immigration and international students and all of these problems, it's not just because we don't want immigration. It's because these guys get punished just as much as the other Canadians competing for the roles. This is not good for anybody. He was sold a bad bill of goods. It starts in India. They have their recruiting programs there. They are done through our colleges here. Look into what was happening with a bunch of the major colleges and see what they were doing. It was just a gold rush for them.
I was expecting a job in the field of what I've studied actually.
Canadian colleges and universities have recruited nearly 800,000 international students to business programs over the past 6 years, far more than any.
Whoa, that's just the business programs. So that's not even including other programs, like 800,000 just business.
Other field. New data obtained by CBC News shows how the number of permits issued to international students to study business grew dramatically at a far greater pace than such programs as IT, health sciences, or the trades.
Students are graduating from programs that are not particularly valuable in the labor market.
Rupa Banerjee's research focuses on the economic inclusion of immigrants.
Essentially, we're using the international student program as a source for cheap, exploitable, expendable, temporary labor. And that's not what the international student program is designed to be.
Colleges and universities.
That's big. They basically said, yep, we're bringing the immigrants over, we're taking their money, we're getting them to work for cheap, we're exploiting them. And then guess what? If they're exploited, that means Canadians suffer. So when we break down how bad immigration is at these levels, it's not because we just don't want immigrants. Everybody's suffering, including them. The biggest issue is the feds, the federal government, issuing all these permits. They knew what they were doing this entire time.
Have defended their intake of international students as a way of filling demand for skilled workers.
those employability skills that the student learns can be applied to many sectors. And that's more the case with business than anything else.
But this expert believes there's another reason why colleges recruited so many international students to business programs.
It was a fountain of money. And so we just sort of said it's good.
Alex Usher has analyzed Canada's recruitment of international students over the years.
I don't think it had much to do with the labor market needs. I think what it had to do with was colleges' financial needs.
Now that Ottawa has drastically reduced the number of international...
You guys should look up how much money some of these colleges made on it. It is staggering in just a couple of years.
...students to be allowed into the country, business programs could be first on the chopping block.
There's a responsibility of provinces in this and the institutions that they have jurisdiction over, that they regulate, to make sure that the programs that they are offering to international students are the ones that fit the job market.
Mike Crawley joins us from...
Yeah, I get he wants to pass the buck because, again, I do blame the colleges. Like, the colleges have so much to do with this here. But he's the immigration minister. He sees the numbers. When you see 800,000 immigration permits being put through for business degrees, yeah, I think you should know that that's probably a problem.
From Queen's Park with more on this now. And Mike, who's to blame for this happening?
Well, Dwight, you know that meme, the Spider-Man one, where the three guys dressed up as Spider-Man are all like pointing at one another? That's exactly what it was like when we asked the province, the feds, and the colleges about their responsibility on this. They were all saying, oh no, not us, it's the other guys. But in fact, really, there's a shared responsibility in all of this. The feds, they're the ones who issued the permits. And also the feds had this data so they could see, while it was happening, this trend of so many international students coming to enroll in business, but didn't do anything about it. The provinces, well, they've got jurisdiction over post-secondary, and they have the power to control the overall makeup of foreign students coming to the colleges and universities, but the only province that actually exercised that control was Quebec. As for the colleges and the universities, well...
Shout out to Quebec, the French doing something right for once. The colleges and universities, it's hard to get in as a local Canadian applying for a lot of these programs, but international students are almost guaranteed to get in as long as you can pay that money.
They have the power to decide what sort of programs they want to create and offer and exactly how many international students they're going to allow to enroll in those programs.
Well, Mike, you shared the story of that one international student who took a business program but ended up working at McDonald's and as a security guard. What do we know about the overall success rate then for those students actually finding jobs in their field of study?
Yeah, so the stats on this are really poor quality. That's why we end up relying on anecdotes. Nobody really tracks whether international students are getting work in their field. The colleges and universities, they report on employment figures 6 months and 2 years after graduation, but literally it's just whether somebody has a job or not. Nothing about what kind of
which includes like Uber drivers, temporary work.
Job it is. There is some recent data that was published by the Globe and Mail reporting a dramatic jump in asylum claims by foreign students and foreign student grads. And that's suggesting that many of them were not able to get the kind of jobs that they needed to become permanent residents before their work permits expired.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that really ticked me off about this video, that people are coming over, spending all their money or doing whatever just to get here. And they're like, oh, we'll get to Canada. We'll skip the line in immigration. We'll get pushed in. Oh, we didn't get our PR right away. No problem. We'll just claim asylum and they get to stay. That seems like a real loophole and abuse in the system. But anyways, I'm a real estate agent in London, Ontario. Reach out to me in the link below if you want to work with me or my team all the way across Canada. We can hand select somebody for your area. Do not forget to like and subscribe and have a great rest of your day.